Welcome to Moving Intentionally, the podcast for women who are driven, capable, and a little exhausted. I'm your host, Jess Ellis, a strength and fitness coach and a professional yapper. And if you're ready to train smarter, live intentionally, and perform at your best without burning out, then you're in exactly the right place. Let's get to it. I realised that wasn't how I wanted to live my life. So back in 2016, I was travelling around the world with my best friend, and we were sat on the Whitsundays in Australia, which, if you've been, is stunning, living our best mid-20-year-old lifestyle. And I turned to my best friend, Sophie, and I literally just said, I don't think I want to go back to the job that I've got. And I was on my sabbatical, so I had a little bit of time off. And I'd worked in various sales and marketing roles since I graduated from university, but I just wasn't feeling it. I just felt like there was something that I was supposed to do in the health and fitness space because I was really passionate about health and fitness, but I also knew that I needed to make the most of the skills that I had. And I just thought, I'm good at communication, hence me yapping on a podcast. I'm good at communication. I really love working with people, and I love health and fitness, and I think I can bring all those things together. So that was like my first experience of moving intentionally through the world. I feel like up until that point, everything I'd done wasn't necessarily the most intentional. It was just like I was going along with the flow. And that was something that I intentionally decided when I got back, I was going to make a change. I was going to qualify as a PT. I was going to think about how I could go about changing stuff. And like prior to me becoming a coach, so I qualified pretty much like the year after coming back from my travels, I had worked in various sales and marketing roles, and like I say, I enjoyed it, but it just didn't give me that same sense of fulfillment. I felt like there was something missing in regards to what I could offer, basically. I just knew that there was something more. And in that, I also felt like there was something that I was missing in regards to like fulfillment. I think that sounds really cheesy, but I just didn't feel very fulfilled. I didn't feel like I was making a difference in helping people. I felt like because the marketing that I was doing, I was making all the rich people much richer in regards to the big brands that I was working for. So I was working with some big brands that sound like Purex, and writing about things like blowjobs on social media, and not on social media actually, on Google, and trying to get articles ranked really highly for that. So that was always a good bit of banter in the office as you were getting people to read your work and see what they thought of it. I was also like writing stuff for interiors companies, and it was fine. It just wasn't lighting me up. And I always feel like if you are going to go do something and your energy feels off, like whatever you want to call it, but you know deep down something's not right, you need to make a change to adjust that. And day to day, once I got back from my travels, once I'd qualified as a PT, I was like, right, well, how am I going to go about getting clients? So in the beginning, I used to coach people before work, do like 1 or 2 PT sessions at maybe 5 and 6 in the morning, go do a 45-minute commute to work the full work day, whatever it was. I think we used to be able to go a little bit earlier, but I think it was like 8 till 4 or 9 till 5. Then come back, then do more sessions or classes, and then repeat the cycle. And I think I did that for like 2 or 3 years to get my business off the ground. And in that time, what I also was doing was like thinking, how can I make space for this? So I dropped down my Fridays at work so I could take on more in-person clients in the day, because I knew not everybody could do before work and after work, and having that flexibility was going to be really important. And then I also started teaching at a like boutique boot camp gym over in Leeds at the time. I would travel there. That was like another hour. Like being from like Lincolnshire, you're kind of not far away from anywhere, but also kind of not close to anywhere at the same time. So everywhere's a drive. So I was always feeling like I was driving here, there, and everywhere to get the opportunities that I wanted to do and like learn from people and stuff. And then eventually I was like, this is taking its toll. I was doing 3 days in my marketing job come like COVID time. And then the rest, I was working on my business over the weekends and stuff. And then when it got to COVID, I just felt like it was now or never. So I pulled the trigger again, another time where I felt like I was maybe moving intentionally to make the change and go all in on my business. I was really lucky during COVID that obviously fitness had a huge boom, didn't it? Everyone kind of either made home gym setups or really got into like online sessions, that type of stuff. And it was really great in regards to me being busier than ever. So it was a good time for me to take the leap. So since then, like if you count that time from when I was working in marketing and qualified and everything, I've been working for 9 years. And I feel like I have learned a lot in that time as well. So I think it's worth talking about my own fitness journey during this, because obviously when I first qualified as a coach, I was into fitness. I was enjoying it. I got into like proper training in my early 20s. I did sport before that. I'd played football. I was always in like the different sports teams at school. I did athletics and all stuff like that. But football was my main sport. And once I stopped doing that when I went to university, I didn't know what fitness looked like for me anymore. I only knew what sport looked like, and that was being part of a team. And it was moving because there was an outcome that you were trying to win, not necessarily that you were trying to develop the skill of getting better at a deadlift. It was just different. So it was new to me. And I didn't really place as much value on it in my early 20s because I was very sporadic. I would go to the gym in order to be able to go out on a big booze up with all my uni mates. I would go to the gym for 1 week and then drop off for 2 weeks. So like the consistency thing, when people come to me and they say they struggle with it, I get it, because I also had periods of like that with my fitness where I didn't really think it was something that I needed to pursue or be intentional with. I thought I could just, do bits occasionally. And I think you do maybe when you're a little bit younger as well, in your early 20s, you maybe don't care about it less. Although there's an argument there to say that I do think a lot of things are changing in regards to social media and younger people caring a lot more about their health and fitness than previous generations. And then I went into a phase where I really struggled with my mental health in my early 20s. I had a proper dip, and as a result, I kind of didn't do anything. I would say there was a good 9 to 12 months where I don't think I really exercised at all. Like, I'm not even talking the sporadic gym stuff. I just don't think I did anything. And then when I discovered the gym, like an ex-boyfriend kind of got me into it a little bit. I was like, I think I'm gonna take this seriously. I was skint at the time. I was working a really cheap marketing role in central Manchester, paying Manchester rent like extortionate, and thinking, oh my god, what actually can I do hobbies wise that is affordable? So I joined the Pure Gym, and I was like, great, there's classes, there's all sorts, under 20 quid, bargain. But then in many ways, because I was struggling with my mental health, I used it as a crutch to pacify or like numb some of the feelings that I was having, rather than addressing the feelings. Again, I was young. I don't think I really thought too much into it. I think also people's mental health, like the awareness of mental health has had so much of a better platform in the last few years. Again, I would say even since that 2020 time, it's improved. But I don't think I knew that I was struggling. I just think I thought I'm very much a just get your head down and crack on type of person, like rather than maybe giving it the time and the air that it needed for me to be able to see what was happening. So during this time when I got into the gym, I would occasionally go to a class or I would occasionally go on the treadmills. But at the same time, I'd be doing like DVDs from my apartment. Like I had a Gillian Michaels DVD. I can't remember what it was called. The 30-day shred. That's what it was called. The 30-day shred. And you do this workout, or even twice a day you do this workout. And I I know I've been a bit of a ball buster over the years, like with my clients, when I've been tough to them, when I didn't necessarily understand, in my boot camps and stuff like that, when I was just kind of thinking hard meant the best thing. Thankfully, I've learned over the years much better. But gosh, she was mean. She would make you do like some sort of burpee tuck, knee extension, something mental. I had so many carpet burns, I swear down. The carpet that I had in my bedroom was rough, it was coarse. And yeah, a couple of skin grafts on the knee since, been fine. But yeah, so I got into that, did some of the Gillian Michaels DVDs. And I think during that time, I always thought with fitness, because I was getting into it, well, surely like the more you do, the better it's going to feel. And I had this time, I didn't have a lot of money, so it kind of like scratched that itch of having a bit of a hobby. And I was enjoying feeling better after a period where I wasn't really feeling very good, feeling it myself. We all know about how exercise is great for endorphins and stuff like that, but I went from like first gear to like fifth gear. I went in and I realized that I was always chasing this I'll be happy when mindset, like I'll be happy when I lose another whatever amount of weight. I'll be happy when I can see abs. I'll be happy when I can get from doing X amount of sessions a week to another different amount of sessions. Or it just like it never felt like I was satisfied with the progress that I was making. And in turn, because I was going so hard, I was always like getting ill. And when I was at university, I used to really struggle with being poorly, like with my tonsils and stuff. I used to suffer loads. But then what I was finding is I was still getting poorly, but it was because I was on the other end of the spectrum. So I was going from maybe being relatively unhealthy and not looking after myself with any exercise or nutrition to the other end, which was like I was going so hard, maybe not eating enough, only eating things that I deemed, quote unquote, it was like the clean era. And in turn, my body was just like, what the heck's going on? Like, you cannot treat yourself like this and still expect to feel good. So again, I used to get tonsillitis all the time. I had my tonsils out when I was 24, and I think I had to campaign for that. But that was probably of the peak time of when I was in the thick of it. And I think what I really want to make sure that I help the people that I work with, the women that I work with, is realizing that it doesn't have to be either of those spectrums. I feel very privileged that I've lived through both and come out the other side, because you see a lot on social media. Obviously, I work with a lot of people where it's not as easy as that, where we really struggle with, for example, disordered eating. If you go down the slippery slope of trying to be too clean eating and trying to punish yourself through exercise and all those things. So I think the fact that I've been able to live those experiences and come out the other side and be able to help and guide my own clients, not to the point of anything that ever feels too extreme for them, because everybody's life is different. I do actually think is a good thing in hindsight, even though at the time, if you asked me to go back and live through those periods, oh my God, you could not pay me, because they were not good times. They were really not good times. And I think sometimes when we see on social media people really getting into fitness and exercise, I think, yeah, it's great, but it's a very unique thing. Everyone's personal circumstances are very unique. So just because someone's doing more doesn't always equate to better. And finding someone's sweet spot for growth and change and the right stimulus for them to develop in a way that's healthy to them is different for every single person. Like, honestly, even though I work with women who are in like the 30s, 40s, 50s, that looks different for every single client that I work with. And that's sometimes how I talk about when it comes to the word like niching on social media. You get told in business, make sure you niche. But really, like, my niche is the woman who is ready to increase to that, or go to that next level of challenge for her, whatever that looks like. And that could look so different for everybody. Like, everyone's probably thinking a different thing now listening to this. So that's kind of like what got me to where I was with my fitness. I kind of went through that disordered phase. Then I got into strength training. I did CrossFit for many years. I drank that Kool-Aid, the hard intensity. I replaced the Gillian Michaels DVDs, would go into CrossFit class and battering myself. And although that taught me a lot about lifting weights, which was really, really positive, and I thought the community in CrossFit was brilliant, it also taught me a lot of bad technique and form. It taught me only one setting, which was intensity. And that wasn't necessarily what I needed. I didn't need more and more. I needed somebody to be able to tell me when to pull back a little bit. And a lot of the women that I work with, and maybe listening to this, you feel like it resonates, which is you have got like ambitious goals. You are really driven. You are somebody who feels like you can work really hard, but at the same time, doing that all the time can be really draining and can end up putting you in a position that doesn't necessarily feel good, and it doesn't feel healthy, and it doesn't feel like it's sustainable. And it's no better than the crazy fat loss transformations we see online, where someone just doesn't eat anything for 30 days, loses loads of weight, and then rebounds like twice as hard. That's not healthy either. And I think that's kind of where I'm at with wanting to make sure that people realize that more isn't always better. Doing these hard things isn't always better. Like, without sounding like a flex, I did my first ever ultramarathon in April this year. Literally, the furthest I've ever run. It was over 50k. It was in the Welsh trails. It was up, down. It was like over 1,000 meters of elevation. The weather was mental. That was really hard. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done. But that is so much more different to the person that I was back in 2016, 2017, when I was doing CrossFit, where I used to deem the hardest thing that I ever did, just being, did I feel like I was going to puke at the end of a workout? It's like knowing the difference between your effort and intensity is a really important thing when it comes to fitness, because anyone can go hard, but can you show me somebody who can pace themselves accordingly, turn it up a notch when they need to, come down when they need to? That, for me, is what enables my clients to keep going, rather than just being able to go balls to the wall once. Doesn't necessarily come across as the flex that you think it does. And I speak from experience with that. And I think when I thought about this a lot over the years, I know that this isn't necessarily the message that's spoken about. And coming from a marketing background, we often get taught, like, what's something that you're opposed to in the industry? You know, like, what's something that you don't necessarily agree on that other people do in your niche? And there might be people listening to this who have got other businesses, and you're thinking, yeah, I think this, and loads of other people think that. There's probably several that I can think of, but one that always comes up for me is that effort and intensity thing. I think we're in the time now where data, like what smartwatches, Oura rings, all that stuff, are amazing because they can really help us be more insightful about our health and fitness, but they can also lead us astray, which is it's taking away our trust in ourselves. And if you think about what trust is, it's intuition. So in 2023, I did my first ever, and my first only TEDx talk, and it was called "Did the Health and Fitness Industry Crush Our Intuition?" You can literally go have a look at that on YouTube. It's there. I'll put it in the show notes, which is nice to say because I've not said that in a long time since I last did a pod. So did the health and fitness industry crush our intuition? And I think that is my contrarian view at the moment, which is we are putting more and more information into external sources to make the decisions about our health and fitness for us, but at the same time we're kind of losing that trust in ourselves. And that goes back to how I felt when I was doing these hard, intense workouts, or I was just going one setting. I had no trust in myself. I had no experience of knowing that there was another way, that I could be healthy and content and work hard, but also rest hard. You know, like not being able to think that the only time I'm allowed to rest is once I've I'm knackered. You know, like the only reason you're resting is because you're injured, or the only reason you're resting is because you're really sore. And it is a fine line. It is a really fine line. I think a lot of people who, like the David Goggins of the world, like the Navy SEAL, who has like crazy books on challenges he's done, and he's got a crazy mindset of like discipline, but he would deem some of the things that I'm saying as soft, which is fine. That's okay. But I know that when the time's right, I can take it up a notch, and I know when I need to rest and I need to lean into that like softer side of myself, because that doesn't come easy to me. And maybe you listen to this and you think, yeah, that's the same for me too. Like I sometimes have a habit of going too hard and then really struggle to find the in between. And I think balance is a funny thing, because a lot of us talk about like balance, but I don't think it's an even balance. Like nothing's ever an even balance. Even if you think in your like day-to-day life, your households and stuff, there might be weeks where you and your partner barely see each other because you're really busy at work. And there might be times where you feel like you're really on it with your nutrition, and then less times because you're eating out with events for work, or there's loads of family stuff. Or you might also feel like you're really on top of your house and there's loads of stuff that's fine, and then other times it feels like everything's falling apart and everything needs a tidy and So we're never in this like homeostasis, this like balance of perfect harmony. And I think the same goes with your health and fitness. So rather than trying to strive for the perfect balance, it's being able to roll with it and realize it's more like a wave. Like sometimes it's going to be a bit choppier, sometimes it's going to be a bit more in a flow state. I'm using all these analogies. Sometimes you're going to be going in first gear cruising, sometimes you're going to be able to take it up a notch. And sometimes your training weeks will look different on different days for that reason. You might have a really easy start of the week because you have a really busy weekend with work, or you play in a sports team. Like when I used to play football on a Sunday, I barely did much on a Monday because I was recovering. But then my intensity picked up through the week. So it's all these things to take into consideration. And I think that TED talk that I did back in 2023, it was all about being able to lean into this version of trusting ourselves again. Because if we only ever outsource how we feel, like we look at your Garmin, like I have a Garmin on right now. If you're not watching the video, this is going to be on YouTube, but I have a Garmin right now and I use it, and sometimes I'll get up in the morning, it'll tell me my sleep score, and I don't think it reflects how I've slept. Or sometimes I get up in the morning and it'll say my sleep score was really low, and then I think, oh yeah, it was actually not that good, but I don't know if that's because it's told me so. So I think we've just got to be really mindful of the information that we take from other things without actually being able to check in with ourselves first. It's the same for like your cycle or hormones. I have a lot of clients in perimenopause and menopause. It's like, what better reference point of how you feel than yourself? But this is what I talk about, that being able to tune into yourself, to be more intentional, is you need to ask yourself better questions. And that's what I try to do in my coaching practice, is ask people the questions that they're missing about themselves, because they're skimming it over, because they haven't got the time, because they feel like they're very busy in what they're doing, that they haven't really thought about it or given it the headspace. And a lot of the time people say to me, like, Jess, it's fitness for me is I want to get stronger and fitter, but it's also that accountability thing. And I think that accountability word is really normal. Like I hear it all the time, but it's like, how can I over time get you to be more accountable to yourself? By asking better questions, by tuning into yourself. Like my business is called Self. And to give you a whistle-stop tour of why it's called Self, when I first started coaching, or it was before I even started coaching, it was before, like it was 2016. It might have even been when I just got back from traveling. And I remember being sat we had like a conservatory at like 2 houses ago in the house that we rented. And we had a little conservatory on the back of the house, and I had a little table in there. It wasn't really much of an office, but I tried to make it look like one. And it had like an exercise bike in, and probably my 5 kg dumbbells that I had at the time. And I sat down and I was like thinking about short words of what I felt like would reflect my business. And I was like, what could suit here? And I was like, well, what is fitness about for me? Like, what have I really learned through this process? And what do I think is going to be really instrumental in helping people go forward? And this is almost 10 years ago, guys, and I still believe this to be true. And that is like, self for me fell into 3 pillars. And the first being like, you need to become more self-aware when you first get into this thing. And in order for you to move forward intentionally, you need to understand a little bit more about where you're at. So when I work with people, for example, I do an initial consult in the beginning, and that's because it helps me understand them. But also, I think it helps them understand themselves a little bit more. Sometimes when we do it, people will answer questions and they're like, I've never even thought about that before. I've never even related that to my health and fitness. And I see that part as as me holding up a mirror to help make you more self-aware of where you're currently at. So I think self, the first pillar is, and that's why there's a 3 in self, is being more self-aware. The second thing is, once you know the things that you need to change about yourself, the things that you feel aren't serving you with your health and fitness, I think it's then moving on to self-care. Self-care is a bit cheesy. I think self-care is like way overused back in the time that I probably started self, like in that 2016, 2017 time. But it's whatever resonates with you, self-respect, self-love, self-whatever. And I don't think as Brits we're very good at talking about that softer stuff, which is like being nicer to yourself, being able to realize that you deserve to be kinder. The advice that you would give to your friend, you don't necessarily take for yourself, but you should, because if that's what you truly believe, then why don't you deserve that? And when it comes to your health and fitness, that self-care, that self-respect could be speaking to yourself differently. It could be getting yourself exercising. It could be the food that you're putting into your body. There's many things. And then the last thing is, the goal of that is to help you feel more self-confident. And you might already be a confident person when you come to me, but you might not be confident in the gym. You might not be confident in your knowledge about health and fitness. You might not be confident in the direction that you want to take this. To be intentional, because you are plateaued in your health and fitness and you're just spinning your wheels. There's so many different ways that you can kind of look at this. And yeah, the health and fitness industry, did it crush our intuition? That chat on YouTube, do go give it a watch, because I'd kind of go into this a lot more. I'm not going to go into it on this because I think that's there for a reason. So over that time, like I said, I coached. I dropped down to X amount of days in my marketing job. Then I went on to doing in person and online. I had like an online community during COVID, which was called the Self Society. I made everything the self something. Like, I say that. There was Self Society, then there was, I did sweat camps, which any of the OGs will remember. I used to do boot camps when I first started. Don't think I would do that now, just because in hindsight, it's kind of hard to coach that many people, but not from an ability point of view. It's just like, once you know the difficulty of being able to coach that many people in a large environment, you can't unsee, you know what I mean? However, they were some great times. If there's anyone listening to this who came to those, please do let me know, because they were great. And we used to do it at 5:45 in the morning on a rugby pitch, and 5:45 in the night time, I think we used to do as well. And I think the most we ever had was like 40 people at them. And then, yeah, it was good. We did that for a while afterwards. But with the different things that I've done over the years, I've taught in gyms, I've taught classes, I've taught boot camps, I've done one-to-one, I've done online coaching, and my business now is mainly online and in-person coaching. And I do that based in Sheffield, where recently I've moved. If you follow me on social media, I moved to Sheffield about 8 months ago. I'm in the process of building my own little garden studio / gym. At the moment, if you're watching this on YouTube, I am currently filming this from my kitchen, but I would like to have a little bit of a better podcast setup. So that's what I'm aiming towards, to do more content, to be able to film, to be able to create more in an online capacity as well. And I think it's just really helpful being able to do this long form content. I really missed being able to talk to people on a long form way. Used to do a podcast a while ago, and one of my clients actually said to me recently, actually 2 or 3 clients have said to it, but one of them did say to me really recently, I really miss listening to you on the podcast every week. So I don't know if any of you have been following, but recently I told myself I was going to get some things out of my notes app and get it into reality. And the podcast was one of them, which is why I'm here. And for those of you who helped me curate the name, obviously this was one of my options, which was moving intentionally. And I think that's what it's all about. It's about moving intentionally in your fitness, in the direction of the things that you want to achieve, whether that's you've got big goals, whether you realize that fitness is the vehicle to help you achieve other stuff, and whether that's you're the woman who is in your 30s, 40s, 50s that I mentioned. Maybe you are running on empty a bit, maybe you are low on energy, maybe you feel like you're giving it a lot, in work or in fitness, and you're not getting the rewards that you feel like you need out of it. And maybe you need somebody to do a bit of that thinking for you. There's a lot to be said for being able to get somebody in to help you see what you can't see. I've had coaches over the years. I had a coach until very recently, and I'll continue to have coaches in the future, because whether that's in my business or in my health, there are always opportunities where I feel like I could learn and get someone to shine a light on some of the things that I'm missing out on. And yeah, I think if this sounds like you, then if you feel like you're doing everything right and you're still not getting where you want to be, you're still running on empty, then this podcast is for you. Really excited to get this off the ground, and so excited to have you listening wherever you listen to this, on your drive or on a walk or whatever you're up to, sat at your desk doing some admin. And I hope to hear from you guys on social media. So please, if you've had a listen to this week, screenshot it, tag it on your story, and let me know, or drop me a message. I would love to hear what you thought to it. Until next time, I shall see you next week and be in your earphones once again. So speak to you all soon.